Jeff, a resident of Dayton, Ohio, was driving with his 3-year-old son Miles in the back seat when they passed by a modest cemetery decorated with only flowers and small plaques dotted. Basically looks like a giant garden. Jeff explains on the podcast Monsters Among US. According to Jeff, as they drove by, his toddler, who'd been happily singing, abruptly stopped, pointed to the cemetery, and exclaimed, "Look at all those people." Jeff turned to look but didn't see a soul. Confused, he asked Miles what he was talking about. "All those people over there," his son replied. "There sure are a lot of grandmas." As Jeff tells it, chills ran down his spine as he asked his son what the people were doing. "They're all standing there looking down at the grass," Miles said, completely unsettled by the conversation. Jeff sped up and drove home. Later that same day, he says his young son was watching TV when he turned to Jeff and said, "They weren't alive." Thinking Miles was referring to the cartoon, Jeff asked what he meant. "Those people we saw, they were all paused." His son replied, "I don't know if my kid has the sixth sense," Jeff says, "or if he just has a wild imagination." In the 1990s, Julie, a resident of Portland, Oregon, was driving out the city to meet with friends when she found herself in traffic. The 18-year-old soon discovered that the cause of the slowdown was due to a dreadful car crash, and to her horror, as she passed the scene, she realized that someone had died. A moment later, there was a woman sitting in my passenger seat. Julie says on Monsters Among US. Though she admits it sounds crazy, Julie reports seeing a woman dressed in work clothes seated next to her, and despite being in complete shock, the woman in the passenger seat was even more freaked out. She looked like somebody who just suddenly ended up in somebody else's car, Julie says of the incident. Panicked, the woman demanded to know how she got there and who Julie was. It was then that Julie noticed the woman had an unearthly quality about her and realized that whoever she'd passed on the side of the road was somehow in the car with her. "Ma'am, you need to calm down. My name is Julie and I'm here to help," she says she told the stranger. Julie later went on to explain to the woman that she'd been in a car accident and somehow ended up in her passenger seat. The woman was stricken. At that exact minute, they passed a clearing in the trees. With some encouragement from Julie, the woman peacefully looked toward the sun, then disappeared. In completely disbelief, Julie pulled over and convinced herself she'd imagined the whole thing. Several days later, however, a story came on the news about a trucker injured in a car accident. Before they finished, they threw a picture up of the woman that was in my car and explained that she had passed away in the accident, Julie says during the podcast. "It was unbelievable. It was too much."